All right, now joining us on Tennis Channel Inside In, back again, answering the question of what tennis offseason actually does exist. Sam Jacot, welcoming an ATP writer, covering a lot of great content for the tour. Also is knee deep in the next gen finals that are going to take place next month in Saudi Arabia, December 16th. So we're on the lookout for a great tournament there. But Sam, welcome back to the show. Always good to catch up with you.
Yeah, hi Mitch. Thank you for having me on. It's as I said to you just there off camera, it's been quite a busy few hours. So the off season is what is the off season in tennis?
Yeah, we don't have much time, and I know the players are getting a little better at managing their schedule, but depending on as fans and as people working in the game, you can find some tennis year round, right up until the start of next season, as we know. So a lot of topics to get to. There's some big ones for sure, but I'll start with this. We're on the heels of the Davis Cup, which is the unofficial official ending to the 2024 season. Italy wins again. They go back to back. And, I know the format. I know everything's different, but we talk about tennis and we talk about this Davis Cup best of three. If you have two studs at singles, which they do, you have the advantage. Berrettini and, of course, Jannik Sinner, Sam, just way too much to overcome. They basically dismantle the bracket and hoist the trophy yet again.
Yeah, with Jannik Sinner, you basically start each tie 1-0 up, really, at the moment. With his season, which everyone knows about, has been phenomenal. I think he finished it 73-6 and then didn't lose a match in straight sets, which...
Yeah, I was going to bring that stat up, right? That's only happened once. It was Federer in 05.
05, yeah.
And it's I was reading like a preview when they played Argentina, who did actually push them to 3, the only doubles tie they had. And the story was, well, we know you should just basically sacrifice someone against Sinner. Like it's an automatic loss.
Yeah, he's just been relentless, and it's impressive because the finals in Turin, which I know is a couple of weeks back now, and tennis moves quickly, but I was out there covering the event with the ATP, and I guess the hype around Jannik in Italy is beyond belief. He's everywhere. Everywhere you walk in the city, you see his face. The fans just love him, obviously. He's such a big star. So it's a big high, I guess, winning that event. Year-end number 1 as well, the ceremony on court, and all the fanfare that comes with it. And yeah, Davis Cup is obviously another big event, but he doesn't seem to ever dip off, big moments. So to win the finals, he just dusts himself down, goes across to Malaga, wins 3 more matches in straight sets. So it's impressive, his mentality and his kind of ability to go match after match after match.
Right.
Which compared to maybe like an Alcaraz, who is obviously an unbelievable player as well, but has maybe more dips, as we've seen. With Jannik this year, it's just been, chalking off win after win. So really impressive how he did in Malaga. Griekspoor's quite a tough opponent, isn't he? In those kind of conditions, and tough first set, but then got the job done. And as you say, Berrettini it's not a bad person to have as your number 2.
No, certainly not. Sinner also becomes the first person, I believe, in the Open era to win 2 slams, the ATP Finals and the Davis Cup in the same year, which is just insane to think about as well. Berrettini, and we're going to get to the awards, he's up for Comeback Player of the Year. We always just thought, Sam, right, like if he gets healthy, there's clearly top 10, top 15 game at his base level. Now he's healthy, so we're seeing it. And yeah, when he goes number 2 in this format, I mean, really, it's like he leads off, and if he wins, that's the other thing with this format. When you have a guy like Sinner, if Berrettini wins the match, we're thinking, okay, then the tie's over. Let's just move on to the next one.
Yeah, and it probably puts a lot of pressure on like Kokkinakis, who played Berrettini, and Van der Zandschulp, who obviously had the great win against Nadal, or I don't know if great win is the right way to put it, because obviously Rafa was compromised and not at his best by any means, but yeah, I think it puts a lot of pressure on the other side of it as well, on the opposition, because you think, well, if Jannik's coming out to play our number 1, that's going to be tough for him. I need a win here to keep us going and get us to a doubles, or So it's a two-way thing. But Berrettini, yeah, we'll get onto the awards, but good to see him back healthy, playing pretty consistently second half of the season.
Yeah, you just wonder with these guys, and not just Italy, but some of the other players have done well. The off season is much needed. It's good to get that rest, but some of these players, especially the successful ones, just want to keep playing. Like
Yeah,
they just would love to keep the momentum going, but you have to take a break. Netherlands, I do want to give a shout out to Sam because they had the longest odds by far heading into this tournament, and they make the final. So props to them. Bodek van Zanderschulp, and as you mentioned, Greek Sport, as well as the retiring Wesley Koolhof, didn't get to play as many doubles matches, but had that moment beating Spain. So they made it quite the run, and Netherlands tennis looking up. You know, the depth is certainly there going forward.
yeah. Wesley Koolhof, he was in Turin for the finals, and yeah, was really good again in the Davis Cup. And you kind of think, oh, why are you retiring? But I guess if you want to retire, when you're still feeling good and healthy and at the height of the game, I understand that. But nice moment for him because I think he had a difficult moment in the finals where he sort of smashed his racket on pretty much the last point he played. And I was sort of watching and thinking, oh no, surely you can't go out like that. But thankfully the Davis Cup, he went out a little bit better. And then Botic he's shown, obviously he beat Alcaraz this year, and he's shown, I think it was 2022, he kind of got into the top 30. I remember speaking to him a bit on the tour, and we were kind of featuring him a little bit more. And then he dropped away for reasons. But he's a clean ball striker, and it's not a surprise that he beat Nadal. To be honest, I was kind of shocked in a way that Rafa was playing the singles. I think like most people. And then Griggs had another good season. He's pretty consistent. He's good indoors. But yeah, it's a nice story for the Netherlands to get to that title match. So
what do you think? So what do you think about this format, Sam? In terms of not just that it's best of three, and we'll see there could obviously be changes. Sounds like there might, but the contentious point of this is the doubles going last. What do you think about the order in which these ties are played?
Yeah, I would. It's kind of like we have similar with United Cup with the doubles last. I like that when the doubles is active, there's a lot on it because I think that's good to promote. It's important to promote the doubles. We've been trying to promote that on the tour this year. We've had the doubles trial going on and other kind of, and the Olympics was great when the big stars were playing. So it can get in the spotlight, but again, I can see the difficulty is if it goes 2-0, you don't get it. So I would put it in the middle. I'd put it in the middle tie. I don't know about you, Mitch. So we get to see the doubles. That's my personal opinion on it.
That's where I would go to, and that's how it was. Obviously, when it was best of five, you had that middle tie position. But that said, I mean, it's tough, and then that kind of leads into the big thing in the stateside. Obviously, is the Americans' decision, or how Bob Bryan made it. Which look, hindsight's always 20/20, and the fact being, I think I'll put it this way, right? Like, there's two decisions. It's swapping out singles for doubles. That's a bigger debate, and that's tougher to kind of get into without knowing the inner workings of the team. But there is the critique of why did he have Shelton play singles? Point being, Sam, he had match points. So, like, he wins one of those points, we're not even having that conversation. So I give him more of the pass there, but it's always going to be a debate when you put the singles guys in for an established doubles team that, to be fair, had not been playing well leading up to that match.
Yeah, because I remember a few years back we had maybe similar with Rajiv not being picked. I think from a few years ago, so there's a bit of controversy. I was surprised. Surprised, and I think it was, like, in my opinion, the wrong decision. It's been shown to be the wrong decision, but at the time when I saw it, I thought it was the incorrect call because you get really good singles guys who play a lot of doubles. I know Shelton, Paul. They play a bit on the tour, but they're not. They're not top. They're not known for being top doubles guys. And if you have a really solid team who are there ready to go, I would do it. It was the last minute change with it, wasn't it? It wasn't like the Italians played Berrettini and Sinner, but apparently
that's what I was going to say. Yeah, against Argentina, and if Italy sacked a really good doubles team to play those guys. Now I know Sinner's the best player in the world, so it's maybe a little different, but.
Yeah, I think the Sinner point is different because the guy's just winning every match. So even singles or doubles, if you keep on winning, it's great to get him on court. And secondly, with that, I think that was planned from what I heard longer in advance, whereas this was like a kind of last minute call. But if they win the match and then the American guys, Paul and Shelton, it it looks it's a different conversation maybe. But I was surprised, and it cost them. It did ultimately cost them.
Yeah. Well, it's exciting. The Davis Cup goes to Italy, as does, just want to mention, the Billie Jean King Cup. Italy wins that as well. So they sweep the team events. Remarkable run there. Jasmine Paolini's year, Sam, it's one of the, we don't have the women's awards in front of us today, but there's not even a close second in most improved player on the WTA.
No, she's just, no one I don't think could have predicted this kind of rise. I was watching her hit in Adelaide, the combined event, WTA ATP event in January, and I wasn't like by no means thinking, she's not hitting the ball well, but she wasn't standing out at all. And at her age, she's someone who can just kind of go under the radar. You kind of think that you know what Jasmine Paolini's about at this stage of her career, but she's proved me wrong by two slam finals, doubles success at the Olympics, routine win as well in that title match. I think she dropped just 3 games, 6-2, 6-1 off the top of my head. Yeah, great year. And Italian tennis in general is in such a good spot, as you touch upon there. In terms of events they have on that country, I think they've got, in terms of ATP Challenger events, they've got 19. It's all kind of, everyone's pulling together, and it seems to be a major success. And super tennis as well, I know that's quite a big platform there, and that doesn't just show like ATP WTA, it shows junior tennis as well, it shows all levels. I think there's a real hunger and excitement around tennis, so it's great that that Italy can win the Billie Jean King Cup, because it kind of solidifies an amazing year.
Sure does. We have Sam Jacot here on Tennis Channel Insight, and we're talking tennis as we put the rear view on the 2024 season, look ahead to what's going to happen in 2025. Sam, a lot of people listening to this probably want to know what our reaction is to the biggest story of the past weekend, which I think it's safe to say nobody saw coming in the moment. Novak Djokovic hired Andy Murray to be his coach for at least a trial basis through the Australian Open. Murray retired after the Olympics. A lot of people thought he'd be involved in the game. A lot of people also thought Djokovic would be looking for a coach, maybe a high-profile coach. Well, he's got one, making his coaching debut, his contemporary, his former rival, Andy Murray. What was your reaction when you first heard this news? Before we get into the inner workings of it, just the surreal moment of finding out Murray is going to be on Team Djokovic.
Yeah, well, like a lot of people, I thought it was an April Fool's joke, kind of not quite serious. I know there was a press release that went out to, I think, like the British press and a few other institutions, and then I heard it at the ATP before it got officially announced. I kind of got word of it, and I thought, wait, surely not. But it does excite me because, as a British living in England, growing up British, I know I'm not going to say England with a Scotsman like Andy, but he's obviously been such a kind of inspiration for myself, and obviously so many other people in their 20s, 30s, all ages, but probably my age, in my late 20s here. So when he retired, obviously I'm not going to have favourites in my job, but I do have obviously a soft spot for Andy. So to have him back on tour from a selfish point of view is just really exciting. I think the partnership is really interesting, because Andy is someone who's obviously played against Djokovic in the biggest matches. Djokovic hasn't got many weaknesses, but Murray's very, very tactically astute. He's really shrewd. You know how he likes to look at data, numbers, tactically working out matches, and he worked out Djokovic a bit because he had success with him. I know not loads, but one major finals against him. And Novak wants to try and get another slam, doesn't he? That's clear.
Yeah.
Two guys that are stopping him at the moment, well, this year, were Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz. And Murray's had history against, at least he's hit with them, play with them. He beat Alcaraz, didn't he, in Indian Wells? So we can kind of, I know Alcaraz is a different player now, but Murray can see it from what it's like to play against Djokovic and the weaknesses, what Djokovic makes hard for you, and how you can maybe get it at Novak's game. Be it their biggest matchups came a while ago, and he can see it from his little experience of Alcaraz and Sinner, and maybe thinking, when I played those two guys, that was something that you could, that area I thought you could exploit a bit. So it's an interesting one. I think it makes sense. What was your kind of initial reaction?
Well, there's two ways to look at it, right, from each perspective. For Murray, it's not shocking that he's jumping back in even this soon. I mean, maybe the partnership of who he's working with would be the shocking part, but you saw firsthand living there, and I saw watching on television how much he cared about tennis, how passionate he was. And these great athletes in any sport, they love having skin in the game. We talked about we all thought he'd be involved in tennis, obviously, but you can commentate, you can do things. But when you're a part of a team and you still have skin in the game, it means a lot. So I'm not shocked he's getting into it. Obviously, he's done quite well for himself, so he doesn't have to be full time. He can take a different approach to that. He can still work with him. But you hit the nail on the head. The tactical side of things, the fact that from Djokovic's perspective, this is someone he can relate to, someone that's been at the highest level of the sport that he can have conversations with, because there's a lot of great tennis minds that haven't lived what very few have. Djokovic's side, though, it's interesting. It's a spark that he needed. I talked to several pros, a few Hall of Famers, and they all said about Djokovic, I'd like to see him get a coach. I'd like to see him try something else. He needs that spark. He needs something to try to flip the switch. This will certainly do that. Now, the other side of this, Sam, is that there's no guarantee this works, but the ingenuity of trying something at this stage in his career and knowing, as you said, Sinner and Alcaraz are just taking the baton and running with it. Yeah. He needed to try something. So I think this is good creativity, good ingenuity to try something. Who better to maybe help him, if he can get over that hump, than one of his greatest rivals?
Yeah, and on that kind of trying point that you make, he's at a stage of his career now, Djokovic, which is no secret. It's near the end of his career where he doesn't want to waste time or finding someone who, he's not sure about. He respects Andy Murray. He knows Andy Murray. He knows what Andy's going to bring to him. He's not going to waste or not going to spend 6 months with someone who maybe doesn't know as well, and he doesn't know their personality and how they're going to get on. He doesn't really have time he can't really afford to waste.
Right. Would you say maybe like 2 years? Like it's probably got to happen relatively, for being honest, quick. Probably in the next 2 years.
Yeah. Quick.
So it also shows you too, Sam, that he's not trying to ride off into the sunset. Like if he doesn't hire anybody, that's like, okay, he's going to play this out. He was injured last year, didn't play a lot of tennis, had some, won the gold medal that took so much out of him. Didn't really have the same hunger as is understandable. This shows everyone that he's not just going to ride off into the sunset. He's still going to be gunning for the Grand Slams.
Yeah, he's hungry for a little bit more, because with the Djokovic conversation is it that gold medal, in my opinion, makes it a very successful season, because that's what he wanted so badly. But he'll want another slam, which is why this is happening. But yeah, it's exciting because it just adds. Like, I know you'll preview the Australian Open and the Aussie swing further down the line, but it adds another element to it. We've got Sinner in the form he is, Alcaraz trying to become the youngest guy to win all 4 majors. You've got Djokovic now with Murray. Even like Taylor Fritz, I know maybe I'm just putting my American hat on here, but watching Taylor at Nito, I think he's playing really well. I really enjoy watching him play at the moment. Zverev's obviously had a good end to the season. So there's a lot going on basically at the top of the game, and this is just another really exciting aspect.
Well, we can, before we move on, I just want to close with this. I think a lot of people are going to be waiting for that first time. Maybe there's the dialogue between those two in the middle of a match. Because, I think that's what we're kind of looking forward to.
Yeah, it'll be the first time that the coach properly shouts back at the player.
It's a safe one to say. No. But yeah, it's very exciting. It is. It's a great storyline. I love it. I love the drama. And yeah, there's no guarantee it works, but it might work. And that's what we're all going to be hooked to see. And if it does, what a genius move it'll prove to be. So that's what the tennis is for. A couple things before we wrap up here. Sam, looking at the ATP Awards, the categories came out. And I don't want to hit everyone, but just a few. Maybe there's some snubs. Maybe we can kind of forecast who wins. Newcomer, first off, had 2 in there. Jakub Mensik, who we're all really high on, and Jerry Shang. Those are 2 very good players. Mensik maybe has a little more long-term potential, but Shang had a great year as well. So these are 2 of the very premier young players, these young teens coming up.
Yeah, Mensik and Shang, they're both great talents, both will be at Next Gen, which we'll probably touch upon shortly. Mensik, I think he's got four. He went 4-3 against top 10 players this year, which is really impressive. I was lucky enough to be in Doha for work in February, and he reached the final there, and he just hits such a big ball, doesn't he? And he's got good mentality. He's just got big attributes. He's got big shots, which is obviously what you need. Yep. And I've been really, really impressed with him. I had him on my radar not that recently. He properly came onto my radar at the US Open in 2023 when he had reached a third round, I think, or got through a few matches. But yeah, this year's really kicked on, and I think he's got such a high ceiling if he can. Yeah, just I guess it's stay fit and keep going. I know he missed a Roland Garros this year, I think, with I think it was a knee issue. He told me at Wimbledon, I can't quite remember. And he's a nice guy. He's qualified. He's doing his studies at the same time. He wanted to get his qualifications, his studies wrapped up, which I respect. And then Jerry Shan, well, he's won a title already in Chengdu. He's great to watch, isn't he? Great variety. Like watching a lefty. Parents are both athletes. I think dad's a former football player, mother's a table tennis champion, I think, and he kind of has a really good team network around him. From speaking to him about his parents and their influence on him, so I think that's important, obviously, as a young person to have a good kind of support system. So both of them, great. I'd probably give it to. I was going to say Mensik, but Sham won the title. So it's two great players.
It's tough. A lot of these we're gonna cop out a lot of these and just probably not make picks, but it's tough. Same with that comeback player of the year, Berrettini, Cilic, Nishikori. Obviously, all are pretty well known names. And with comeback in any sport, I guess another award is going to be like this too. It's how you look at it, right? It's all in your own perspective. It's kind of a very, subjective way to look at it. But all three of these guys faced adversity, and they found a way to get themselves off the mat, Sam, and play some good tennis.
Yeah, Berrettini had the 3 titles this year, and as we talked about at the start, we know his levels there. He's been top 10 more recently than Cilic and Nishikori. Cilic, a very fair shout because he won the title, the 250 event in Hangzhou in September, and that kind of came out the blue. But
yes,
if we're being really, I guess, kind of picky between those two, Berrettini for me did a lot more than Cilic did, because Cilic had that great week, and that is a comeback week, I guess. But since then, I think he won one of his final 6-7 matches of the season. So yeah, I would go for Berrettini over him, and then Nishikori. You just got to love Nishikori. What a great guy, and how tough he's had it with injury problems, but he reached the quarters, didn't he, in Tokyo? Quarterfinals in Montreal, first time he reached a Masters quarters in about 5 years. So another, understand why he's there. But for me, I don't know how you see it, but for me it would be Berrettini if I was going to pick a winner.
I would agree with that. I do think Cilic's win was the most unexpected one of them all, but I would go Berrettini. All right, most improved player. This is an interesting one. This is the toughest one for me too, because again, it's how you look at it. Jack Draper, Thomas Mahach, Mapeshi Pericard, Alejandro Tabilo. Now, all great players. I put them in 2 categories, right? Draper and Mapeshi Pericard are just so young, and I do this with other sports too, right? I don't know that they would be my choices for this award if you're that young. Improvement to me is when you're like Jasmine Pauline is a great example. When you're a little older and you finally have that breakthrough a little later. So I would go to one of the other 2. And full disclosure, if you're listening to this podcast, Alejandro Tabilo is the other guest on this show. So I'm going to cop out here, even though I would say Thomas Mahach probably made the most strides in terms of where he was to where he is now. But it's a tough one. I don't know how you see it.
Yeah, Mahach he's just. I've noticed before he's such a good ball striker, and he had good results, but nothing incredibly good. I think he's 25 now. He started the year about 75. He hasn't won a title though, and he's probably the highest guy. He was at least last month the rankings might have switched in the last week or two of the season that hadn't won a title. But yeah, really good season. Shanghai semi-finals were great. Just hits the ball so cleanly. And then Tabilo, I wasn't, because he started the year, won Auckland, and from qualifying, which is really impressive. But I didn't know loads. I didn't know loads about him, to be honest. And then I think he reached a final on clay. He won a grass title in Mallorca. Like, to do that, to win titles on 2 surfaces, semi-finals in Rome, which is clay. Really impressed. Finished the season like a little bit slower, but I don't think it's unexpected because he's playing so much tennis at the start of the year, and he probably hadn't played that number of matches at that level before, because he's normally playing a lot on the Challenger Tour previously. So I get why it catches up. For me, my pick would be Tabilo as well, because he's won a couple of titles, because he's had that clear jump. He's a little bit older. I think he's 26, 27 maybe.
It's 27, yeah.
So I feel like because he's a bit older, Draper and Petchy Pericard, brilliant. Really, really, really great years, obviously. But Draper, I put more in a comeback, in a way, because we already saw him about 18 months ago, playing really well. Then he had some injury problems, which he's had constantly. So, that's my kind of view on it. But you're Tabilo.
Yeah, I just wanted to also say, too, I mean, we talked about Pesci Pericard when you came on for Wimbledon, and I know you probably had the same reaction when he won Basel. Like, what a serving display. I mean, that was just, he was averaging like 130 on his, or one something on his second serves. I think it was close to 130.
130.
So,
It's unplayable.
Yes, indoor especially.
Indoors like that. And another really good French youngster, along with obviously Fee, as the guy who comes straight to your head. So he's loads to him, but again, and he has improved. He's improved greatly, but I agree with you on that. In terms of his age, he's almost more newcomer as well. Do you know what I mean? And Petchy Pericard, because I didn't know loads about him. I guess they interlink, like Mensik and Shan have improved a lot, but they're also.
Do you have
the newcomer?
Yeah. No, it's crazy what he's been able to do. The last one quickly, and then we'll go to the next gen to wrap this up. But do you have a quick pick for Coach of the Year? Xavier Molassie with Popperin, Michael Russell with Taylor Fritz, Brad Stein with Tommy Paul, James Trotman with Jack Draper. Not on this list would be Vagnazzi or Cahill, but that's a whole nother discussion over the best players getting rewarded. But of those 4,
I like Molassie because I spoke to Alexei Popperin in Australia at the start of the year, and he was saying like it was a big year for him coming up because he'd been up in the top 50 and then he was dropped down in 2023, and it was a big year for him. And he was talking a little bit about just kind of using, when we think of Alexei Popperin, we think of maybe like big serve and stuff, but he's actually got a great backhand slice. He's got a lot about his game. So I was quite impressed how he put it all together and had that big week. Obviously highlighted with Montreal, played Djokovic at Aussie Open and was good then. I could see like there was something. So I think he's got a lot out of him this year. The other guys, like Taylor Fritz has had a good year. But I actually went with Popperin and Molassie for that one personally.
It's the biggest growth again too, and the other guys are tremendous coaches. I know Brad Stein decently well, and I know some of the other ones. It's been a journey, and it's hard to keep climbing, but they've done it in a marginal way. All tremendous and the growth that they've done, but what Popperin did, not just being Djokovic, winning Canada, obviously there was a lot going on there. So props to him. Well, Sam Jacot, this has been great. Before I let you go, got to mention the Next Gen Finals, December 16th in Saudi Arabia. There's the race to Jeddah. Still, like, we're in the nitty gritty. We're about to, news might be coming out when we get the full field and who's going to play officially. But as it stands right now in the standings, Fees at first, Mickelson, Mensik, Jerry Shang, Werner Tien, Luca Van Asch, that's 6th. Then João Fonseca, Baza Veretti, that's the top 8 right now, with Landulance and Wong at 9 and 10. So again, there's still some variables happening, but thoughts on the field, thoughts on the competition, and also, moving the date a little later into December.
Yeah, no, it's an event that I'm quite involved in. The Next Gen finals is one that I kind of lead on from the ATP web point of view. So just trying to keep on top of these guys all year, and I'm not going to give myself a plug, but the Next Gen website we have has loads of features on these guys to get to know them a bit more as people. We've got the Journey to Jeddah series, which is quite good, like a good background. So it's an exciting event. I think we've got a good field this year. I think the point of Next Gen, if we went back 5-6 years ago, we had maybe the younger guys were a little bit worse almost than the younger guys now, if that makes sense. So like we might have guys who rank 20, 25 that play Alex de Minaur, guys like that. Rublev played it a bit. Guys who were already there, but our young guys now in terms of the best 20 and under ones or 21. That's part of the reason for the change from 21 and under to 20 and under this year. So we didn't have a situation with Alcaraz, Holger Rune, Sinner all kind of being in the leaderboard when they were already obviously Sinner have won it. But yeah, it's a good field. I think Mensik, Shan, Mickelson, and Fee for now are the 4 standouts. Lerner Teens won 3 Challenger Tour titles this year. Luca Van Asscher had a really good 2023. He's not had quite as good of a year this year. Fonseca we know about from his Rio quarterfinal run. Like there's a lot of talent there. He's 17. So he was 17. Sorry, he's 18 now. And then Vasilevsky has just gone and stormed up at the end of the season. I spoke to him today for a feature that we have coming out next week, and he's won 2 Challenger titles since October, reached another 2 finals. Just really hot at the moment. I know with the time gap, maybe coming in hot won't be as important because there's now a 3-week gap, but he's got a game that can disrupt. So I think it's a really good field. I think the point of Next Gen is to promote guys who are not on the main tour yet. So I think it's a good field for that. I don't think even if Arthur Fee, I don't know, can't really comment on the Fee situation, but even if he doesn't play, I don't see it as a problem because Fee's kind of in a different category. People want to watch Next Gen to see guys they don't see each week. So starts later, which means the off season doesn't really exist for me as much because I have a lot of prep and stuff for Jeddah. But it's a great event, and it was well hosted last year. So that's my kind of opinion. What's your thoughts on Next Gen as an event and I guess the field that we look to have?
I'll say the schedule's a little different, given that we go right into the United Cup and ATP Cup and everything down in Australia. But I understand it, and I like it for the fact that this has been a star-making event. I understand the qualification changes. I like the fact too that maybe we're going to highlight people we don't know, but it's pretty cool to look back in the last 5-6 years and be like, Jannik Sinner, this was maybe one of his coming out parties. Even some of the maybe lesser known players. I remember seeing Brandon Nakashima here and other players. So I like the event. I like how they do tennis a little differently. I like to see young faces, and it's a good welcome to the world moment for some of these players. Obviously, there's different paths. Some players are already welcomed, but it is a good opportunity for players to show the world what they can do on the tennis court.
Yeah, and it's a good week in terms of they get a little bit more just media attention around them, more eyeballs on them. They do proper activations. So what normally happens for people who don't know at an ATP event before play starts on the Saturday or the Sunday, there's media days. Players will do press conference, the top guys. They might do a activation with the tournament where they might go and cook some food, or they'll do stuff on camera with the non-live team at the ATP, and then that all gets edited together and the fun clips you see on social. So it's nice for these guys to get a chance of kind of experiencing what the big guys get to do. And you notice how excited they are to do the stuff, like do the activations, go to see the city of Jeddah and whatever they do. We've got meetings coming up tomorrow on some of that stuff because they don't get to do it much. So it's nice. It's good content. So a good event. And I guess it kind of signals the start of the season in a way. It's like the off season, I guess, is now, and it's kind of a lot of these guys are taking their off seasons now. A lot of these guys want to say if they're going to take a week or two off now and then just hit the ground running from Jeddah.
I can't wait to see it. I know you'll be covering it, so we're going to follow what you do, Sam Jacot. This is always a blast. We don't need the tennis off season because, we're not the ones out there, so we can just enjoy covering it and doing what we do. But tremendous work as always, writing for the ATP Tour, covering Next Gen and other events. Always a pleasure having you on Tennis Channel Insight, and we'll have to do this again soon. But Sam Jacot, always a blast. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Mitch. Good to chat.